So what was the experience of being a film critic, and how did that impact you as you started writing screenplays?
I used my film critic days as grad school. I considered it my college, my full-on college education, where every week I would watch a couple of movies and then have to write essays on them. And then the internet, the harshest graders in the world, would go and comment on them. And you learn really quickly what works and what doesn't work, not only in terms of connecting to an audience, but how the audience connects to your own writing. And so I just used that as this big masterclass of learning how to tell stories, seeing what worked box office wise, what didn't work box office wise, what worked audience wise. What I learned a whole lot of my theories on how horror movies work from my time at Ain't It Cool News. You're learning stuff that you just don't, that seems counterintuitive at first, but then when you hear it, you're like, oh, but that nobody had been saying. And so I got to learn a lot firsthand. And one of the big things about horror is it ages better than any other genre. There is no genre that ages like it. A mediocre movie, horror movie, will be considered a good movie 10 years later, and a good movie will be considered a great movie, and a great movie will be considered a classic. And even the bad movies can be fun. And there are no other genres that generally work like that. Sometimes science fiction the bad movies can be fun, but usually they're just bad. They're usually just boring. The biggest crime you can commit in horror, in most things, but in horror particularly, is being boring. You can get away with anything else if you're not boring. And, but that's the type of stuff that I learned as a critic, is watching that and watching how things age and watching how the discourse works and what is the big explosive thing of the moment that 3 months from now, everyone's forgotten they've seen, or we're even talking about or arguing about. You learn all of that. And then you take it and you try to apply it to your own movies, and Picasso famously said, learn the rules like a pro so that you can break them like an artist. But the trick is you have to learn the rules, and all the rules aren't contained in books. Sometimes the audience is malleable. The audience is always responding to the new stimuli that comes their way. And the old rules don't necessarily work. When we wrote Sinister, I had made an argument to Scott, because the ending of Sinister, spoiler warning for my old movie, is that the children are the killers, and that they've been killing their families. They're being seduced by this entity and killing their families. And Scott was like, you can't kill kids on screen. We have to just kill the parents. I'm like, yes, you can. You can kill kids on screen. No, you can't. And I'm like, yeah, you can. The common wisdom is you can't kill kids on screen, but you can kill families. So as long as you never kill a child on screen without their family, their parents, or their siblings dying with them, you're going to be fine. And sure enough, we kill loads of kids in that movie. And what ended up happening was, as a result, people went, oh, you can do this. And suddenly, here it is, 6-7 years later, A Quiet Place happens. And in the first 10 minutes of the movie, an alien creature comes out and snatches up a 10-year-old kid and kills him right there on screen. And that's just the way everything evolved. 10 years ago, you could not have a single kid killed on screen. It was considered cruel. It was considered cheap and lazy. But now if you do it well, you can totally get away with it, because the audience has evolved to identify with enjoying kids being put in peril, and not seeing that as playing on their parental instincts, but playing on the fact that we were all children and how helpless we felt. And so being a critic just taught me how to break all that down and turn me into what is known in the industry as a diagnostician. I'm one of those guys who reads a script and somebody's like, yeah, this isn't working. And I go, oh, because of this scene here, and you need something here. That's what's going wrong with your script. It's not slow and boring. You need something here that identifies all this great character work you've done. And so all that came out of my 10 years of training as a film critic.